You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Okay, we're back with our special Byline Election 2010 coverage to help you decide how to spend your vote. In our first half hour, you heard from the challenger for the 7th District U.S. House seat, Republican Ilario Pantano. Joining us now is the 14-year incumbent for the 7th District U.S. House, Congressman Democrat Mike McIntyre. Congressman, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Good to be with you, as always.
You are busy, to say the least. Appreciate you making a few minutes for us.
Yes, sir. Glad to be home.
The race has been characterized as the biggest challenge to your re-election since you've been in office. What do you think, first of all, do you agree, and what do you think is the genesis of that, if you agree with that?
Well, obviously the most exciting, intense race was the first time running for the job in '96. We went through 3 separate elections, a primary, a runoff, and the general. Since that time, we have been blessed with great bipartisan support and have enjoyed working with the folks from all walks of life in both political parties and in independents as well. This year, I think the difference is that people have gotten really engaged and excited about a lot of the issues, and there are a lot of concerns out there, and it concerns me too, which is why we've had a lot of hot button issues to vote on up in Washington. And I haven't always agreed with even those of my own party leadership, because I always try to look at what the issue is and how it affects our district, not merely whether it's a Democratic or Republican issue.
It's no secret that there's a strong anti-incumbent climate, political climate around the country right now. What kind of impact is that having on your campaign?
Well, I think that it means everybody, which is part of the great engagement of democracy, everybody needs to look at every office at every level, and of course there's races at all levels this time around on the ballot. But it means that you have to make sure that you're always involved and that you're always examining a candidate's record and what that candidate has done or what that candidate stands for.
How important is the independent vote at this time around?
It's very important because people, I think, more than ever are saying they're going to look at the candidate, not just the party. They're going to look at the issues, not just a political platform.
That's a big block of votes. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost, you got Democrats, you got Republicans, got independents,
right,
and or non-aligned,
right,
and they're just about equal.
Well, they are, and you know, for us, that's something that I've long been accustomed to. We have great friends who are Democrats as well as Republicans. In fact, we have a Republicans for Mike organization that former Wilmington Mayor David Jones heads up. We've got a lot of Republican friends. Also, we have a lot of independent friends, and folks have known that Mike McIntyre votes on an issue based on how it affects our area, because knowing this area, having grown up here, having family here, loving this area the way we do, spending time the way we do, whether it's in the factories or on the farms or in the schools where I volunteered for over 25 years personally, long before I ever had the opportunity to go to Washington, and I still do to this day. Or working with our businesses, our chambers, working on the beach issues, working with the veterans or our military bases. We have probably one of the most diverse districts in America. And so you've really got to know the people to know the issues. You really got to know the communities and be out there, which is why we were talking, I know earlier before the show, I come home virtually every weekend, and I'm usually in 2 or 3 counties every weekend. And spending that kind of time, you realize, you know, it's not about Democratic or Republican issues. It's about an issue and how it will affect our area, and that's reflected in the way I work and vote.
On a national level, and somewhat regionally and locally too, the Republican Party has been painting the policies of the last 18 months as failures. How do you respond to that?
Well, there have been some policies that need to be examined carefully, some of which I voted against. You know, I voted against the health care bill because I had a great concern about the way that bill was constructed.
What was your major, you've been criticized by progressives for voting against that bill. What was your major concern about that bill?
The main concern was it sounded good, but how are you going to deliver it? We need health care reform, no doubt. We need to do something about skyrocketing insurance premiums. We need to do something to bring down the cost of health care. The problem was that the health care bill did not adequately address the cost, and it would be like the proverbial dog chasing the bus, where you're trying to offer services to help folks, but yet the costs are continuing to escalate. And whether it's a small business trying to keep up with insurance coverage, whether it's a family trying to make sure they can be covered, whether it's an individual.
So you think it's
that has a severe health
was a
problem.
poor bill, and
in the way it was written.
Would you vote to repeal it? There's talk of you would.
Yeah. In fact, I said that I would right after we took the vote on it. That was Palm Sunday weekend, and the following Monday I said that I would. But the reason is to try to make it so that it could we need health care reform, but not in that way. This was going to be a $1 trillion bureaucracy that was going to be set up that was not going to actually address the escalating cost. And you've got to make sure, too, that you can deliver what you're talking about. You know, I hate for there to be someone to promise something and then you can't deliver it. In our area, Medicare reimbursements and Medicaid reimbursements are very, very important because we live outside of New Hanover. We're in a very predominantly rural area. And in order for New Hanover Regional Medical Center, and Jack Bartow chairs the Medical Advisory Committee that I work with for the 7th District, and of course he's the CEO at New Hanover Regional. New Hanover Regional is a regional hospital, so it serves a broad expanse of our area. Then when you
and you think that health care bill would have impact on their ability to deliver services?
Oh yeah, in terms of the cost. But what I was going to say though is that the health care reform bill did nothing to address those Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements, and so that ended up being splintered off into a separate bill, and it was not part of the same bill to make sure that these reforms could actually be delivered to the people that need them. So it was a great concern.
I want to move on from that because it'll get so bogged down. I'm afraid our viewers won't be able to follow.
But anyway, I had a great concern about that health care reform bill as not being the right approach, and that's why I voted against it.
There's been a lot of political attacks on both sides of this campaign. One levied against you is about a political ad from your campaign about your opponent's support for the fair tax proposal. The ad suggests that under the plan, people's taxes would increase by 23%, but the ad fails to mention that if that was adopted, the federal income tax and some other taxes would be eliminated. It's been highly criticized as purposefully misleading. How do you respond to that?
Well, actually, taxes in our area would go up based on the median income in southeastern North Carolina. And even if you go to factcheck.org and look at it, for families between $15,000 and $200,000, your overall taxes would increase.
Even with the elimination?
Yeah, even with the elimination of the tax code. And so that's the basic concern here. And actually, 23%, believe it or not, is a more conservative figure. The actual estimates as scored by the Congressional Budget Office is that the tax rate would have to be more like around 30%.
So you don't support the fair tax proposal?
No, because the families in our area would actually end up in net paying more taxes. Even if it removes the income tax code and all like they propose, as it says, and as I mentioned, if you go and look at the median income in southeastern North Carolina, one source has it at around $40,000, other around $31,000. But whichever figure you use, that still falls between $15,000 and $200,000. A person's overall taxes would go up. Yeah. I have long supported a bill to eliminate the current tax code, to make it an improved situation, make it much fairer. You know, there are flat tax proposals that ought to be considered as well. There are a lot of different approaches. The main thing is making sure that we do everything we can to let people keep more of their own money, to get government regulation off their back. I've supported the Tax Code Elimination Act to get rid of the current tax code. It's too onerous, it's too burdensome, it's too expensive for families and small businesses and
We're going to take a break and we'll come back. When we come back, we'll talk about negative advertising. Is it working? With our guest, 7th Congressional District, Congressman Mike McIntyre. Stay with us.